Welcome, property investors. This is the Building in Perth podcast with your two hosts, Chris Holland and Tony Hyde. If you're a property investor or you're curious about investing in property in Western Australia, this is the podcast for you. The reason for that is we're not going to hold back. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're certainly not going to bullshit you, and we're going to exploit everything that you need to know. Every month we're going to have special guests on, industry professionals, and then we're going to release an episode every single Monday. So you're not going to miss anything. So please stay tuned, like and subscribe so you never miss anything, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Building in Perth podcast with your host Tony Hyde
And Chris Holland.
Another great addition today. We've got a special guest here, Dan Donnelly from the Prime Project. Welcome, Dan, and thanks for coming in.
Hey guys, how are you?
Excellent.
We're good.
Excellent.
We're good. We've known Dan for a while. Yeah, Dan's the best. Dan's the best.
I actually love Dan.
So,
man crush
rather
on
than
Dan.
me telling you what Dan does, we're going to just hand over and let Dan tell us a little bit about himself and what he does and who Prime is and all that stuff.
Sure. So, started in the building industry about 13 years ago. Been with Prime the whole time in just a variety of roles. I've always loved property. I'm a bit of a property nerd, you could say. Would be sitting at home on the laptop and I'll be on realestate.com. It's like the most visited website on my laptop. So
Sure it is, Dan.
I'm married and this is PG. It absolutely is. But
DM us for the real websites.
But I just love looking at properties. I've helped friends buy. I've bought multiple properties myself. It's just always been a passion. So getting a start in the industry 13 years ago was a dream come true for me. And I've done a whole bunch of stuff for Joe over the journey at Prime. So started off just as a lowly little marketing kid, updating the website, then did land acquisitions. I've done account management. I've done research on what makes a good investment, and just recently moved into the retail space with Move Homes, and now get to help, first home buyers make their dreams come true.
How good is that, man? So you've literally ticked off majority of the boxes in a building company.
Yeah, I think he was like, if I keep him in one spot too long, he'll get bored. So he's just bounced me around. Yeah,
brilliant. Nah, that's good. And what about the commitment now? So how long have you been with Move?
Move, I think nearly 4 years now.
Oh, Prime
13 years.
That's rare.
It's
isn't
crazy,
it? You don't get many people that are.
A third of my life's been spent at Prime. If you want to get a bit depressing.
You did the math.
Yeah.
And we'll go into who Joe is and Prime is in a minute, but that's testament to if someone that's good at his job that stays.
Oh, 100%.
And obviously getting looked after to keep, like you've looked after me to keep me here.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
But so go back to who is Prime?
Yep. So
Prime Project. Because you talk about Move Homes and how does it all fit together?
Yeah. So Prime's the parent company, run by the Passioni family. 3 generations. So Joe's dad started the business in 1969. So that's 54 years old.
Wouldn't be an Italian builder, would it?
Yeah, absolutely. First home was in Dianella, because if you're going to be an Italian builder, of course you're going to build in Dianella. But it actually started as building for local migrant Italian families. That's how the business started. And then Joe came on board, expanded from there. We've now got Joe's son and daughter working the business. It is still a family business, so there's still quite a few of the family there. But we've built over 20,000 homes nationally now, operations in Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney. So we've built kind of all across the country. And then we've got a few different brands as part of the Prime portfolio. I work for Move Homes, which is helping mum and dads, first home buyers, get into their first home. We got New Homes WA, which does something similar. And we've got Western Property Group, which specialises in investment homes for investors out of state. And then there's subsidiaries. So as you know, they've got a nice vineyard up in Bindoon, which has a nice good Shiraz.
Yes, it is. Very delicious.
Probably a bit early to crack a bottle today, but I've seen a few lying around. So
we've got a kind of testament to Dan as well. We've worked really close with Dan for a number of years, and it's been easy. Even we've had the difficult times, which we'll go into in a bit through the COVID, it was easy to work with Dan and Joe. Joe really stepped up at times. I've never seen someone own a company as big as Prime take it on the chin and actually sit with clients and talk through why these things are happening. I was blown away with that sort of level of care.
It's admirable.
Yeah.
Not many other builders do that. And on that topic as well, Joe's actually inviting clients to his own house, his personal house, and that's That's big balls, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You know, you could, when we were sitting with him and he was going through some of the stuff, you could see the pain in him. You could see he felt the pain. He didn't want to do it. But that was probably listening to like the whole COVID thing as well, right? You know, we spoke about it in episode 1, and if you haven't went to episode 1,
just hang up now and
go back to episode 1 and tell you why you picked the right builder, right? Because if you're here already again, you're not doing the right thing. There's a process to our podcasts, all right? So I'm not getting on to you. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
Let's get the red wine out.
Let's get the red wine out. So yeah, look, again, big testament to Joe Move Homes. We've done some great stuff there. But how did it impact? Like what happened? You know, we know about the cold thing, but how did it happen and hit you, the negative press and all that stuff, Dan? How did you see it?
It's so weird. Joe, in all of his experience in the industry, has never experienced this before. So it's just something that is truly once in a generation. And it kind of stemmed from, we had about 6 or so tough years in building in Perth leading up to COVID. So, you know, booms are natural in our line of work. But we had, I think, at one stage we built, 25,000 homes. And the year before COVID, I'm talking the whole industry in Western Australia built 25,000 homes. It dropped to almost 10,000 homes prior to COVID. So that is a massive drain of people, resources, suppliers. And it kind of needed to go back up to 25 as soon as the grants hit. And we were like, we've had these before and, it's dipped and then it's bounced back up and you can get to 15s and 16s. But there's just been no slack in the system and it's just caught everyone off guard. It's just something we've never seen before. So, it was difficult. At that time, we saw a massive issue with bricklayers. That's probably been the major hold-up.
We spoke about the bricklayers and saying it was like, we don't actually blame the bricklayers.
Oh, I agree.
Because some of them were getting absolutely smashed for like 93 cents a brick or something like that. Now they're managing. We spoke about that again, episode 1.
93 is very specific.
Yeah, I feel it was. Yeah. Someone told me that.
But so Joe's a bricklayer by trade. That's his trade base. So he was sitting there and going, there's no way we're going to get we're going to have capacity issues along the whole kind of line of the
process,
build. Yeah. But bricklayers is going to be the major sticking point, which is when he decided to switch to steel frame construction, which has been really good for us. And in the future, especially with 7 Star coming up, it's going to be even better because I think, Chris, you'll know building timber, that kind of lightweight construction is just much more energy efficient and it's going to be where the future is.
For sure.
I mean, over East, anywhere else in the world, it's steel frame or timber frame construction.
Correct.
You just do a quick check and you'll see why WA got it because it's just, we're not going into it.
Yeah. But if we don't have the bricklayers, everyone's going to have to come along that journey. Yeah. We just saw a good opportunity to jump early and provide a better result for our clients, and that's what we tried to do.
I think you guys were the first of the major builders in WA to make that transition. Like obviously we had the ABN group who were building steel frame and Summit prior, but you guys made a collective decision when you see that bottleneck happening to make that change early. Yeah. Which wasn't easy, obviously.
No,
it wasn't easy.
And it's come with other challenges which were unforeseen. But I think from a quality perspective specifically...
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. I agree.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
No, so why did he go steel and not timber?
At that time, there was noises about timber shortages, so we didn't want to jump from one shortage to the next.
That's
so it's
true.
literally just that quick. That's amazing. But that shows you the impact of the COVID, the supply and demand that the border shut and what had on it, right?
It was 3 to 4 months to get a roof delivered and stuff like that. Never mind a truss manufacturing plant doing the walls as well. So yeah, 100%. At that time when you done that transition, timber was just as short as the labour for brickies. So I couldn't agree more. Obviously now things have settled. There's options for all types of building methods, but at that time, steel was readily available.
But I think that's good for the industry. If we're going to get back to where we need to build the number of homes we need to house people, we've got a rental shortage at the moment. The only way out is going to build our way out.
Correct.
We need builders doing timber, we need builders doing steel, and we need builders doing double brick. 100%. Everyone's got to...
And it works really well for especially all those over east investors that we're talking to and stuff. They don't care about double brick. They're not interested because they don't know what it is, so they don't worry about it. And then energy efficiency, and this is the last podcast we spoke about. That's going to come. There's no way hiding this. We're going to be having to build 6 to 7 star energy ratings. there'll be a grandfather system, I reckon, on houses built before that. They'll get away with it, but after that, you'll be expected to go and put the stuff in your walls and all that. So I can see it coming. It'll be like you've got 10 years to fix it, and that's going to cause concerns for people. Build it now, and you're going to save a fortune on your energy bills.
Well, you're just future-proofing, aren't you? You're being smart now about what is going to be the new standard in 5 years' time, 2 years. I mean, when is the 7-star energy efficiency getting implemented? Because my understanding is 6-star is effective July 1st.
Yeah, so I think 7 stars maybe a year or two away. I don't know the specifics of it.
Neither.
But we've already started working on that.
Yeah.
So we've got a few tests up with one of our suppliers who does the energy efficiency rating on our homes.
Yeah.
We just want to jump early and make sure we're all over it.
For sure.
So what's, from your opinion, what's the big things to start looking at for your 7-star energy? If you're going to build tomorrow, just to future-proof it, what are the kind of 2 or 3 things that you'd say, let's build this, put that in there?
Yeah, so we do insulation in all of our walls, external and internal, with the steel frames. I think you'll start seeing the laminated glass or double glazing or something to do with your windows. Obviously, steel, you get a tighter seal around the windows with the aluminium frames, the aluminium steel walls, so that helps keep it thermally dynamic. And, potentially some stuff in your roof.
Anticon.
Yeah, Anticon in your roof will probably pop up.
They're the 3 big ones.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to kind of really bring it up. Yeah.
And for the listeners out there, we spoke about this last week with Chris talking about it, and he said exactly the same 3 things, although replace steel with timber. So you get 2 basically building guys in the building game telling you to do it. So it's a no-brainer. And it's not hugely expensive. It's not ridiculous amounts of money.
It's not.
The thing that's probably shocked me most in the last 6 months is understood during COVID and the conversion to steel frames that would be well received. But we actually have people reaching out to us now going, hey, I want to build a steel frame home.
Yep.
So, and they're local West Australians. So we know there's no problem over east, but we thought the local market would take a while to warm up to it, but it's actually picked up way quicker than we
I think
expected.
it's probably down to Building in Perth podcast, making everyone aware of
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys. I owe it all to you.
Out there pushing a good word for brick veneer and that kind of stuff. So, happy days. What's the future? So, there's been we spoke recently, and you're quite passionate about what's coming out over east about rates and building.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand this over to you because I know you're really passionate about it. And I love what you told us. So, let's go.
You can see I've got stats all over the table here.
Why is it a good time to buy against why everyone's saying it's not? Because I believe it's a good time to buy as well.
Yeah. So look, I've got a background in research. So whenever someone raises a question or someone raises a concern, I always delve into the stats. That's how I can make sense of things. And just looking at the stats, it's insane. So you've got 4 main things which dictate whether it's a good time to buy or not. One being supply, one being demand. Obviously, if supply and demand's out of whack, then it means nothing. One thing that's becoming more important now than ever before is accessibility, which is talking about, can I afford to buy the property? And then a second part of that is, will the bank actually give me the money to do it? And then the 4th is consumer confidence, which is kind of some of those news articles we're seeing coming out of the eastern states. But if we start from the supply side of things, we touched on it. We built 10,000 homes pre-COVID. The last 2 years, the whole of Perth struggled to crack 12,000 homes, which is just like dire.
For the amount of sales we've done, right?
Correct. So I've got some more stats here, which you'll find insane. So back to 1990, the difference between commencement and completions, the lowest it's ever gotten is in the low 80s. So even during previous booms, the amount of sales you've done, you've completed 85% of those homes. At the lowest, the last 2 years have been 55% and 65%. So when we talk about COVID catching everyone on the hop, there's some hard numbers which show you what's happening. We're starting to get a little bit better and a little bit easier, but our 10-year average is 16,000. We're going to get nowhere near that in the next couple of years. It's going to take us a couple of years to build that capacity. And our 2015 peak, which seems like a lifetime ago now, was 25,000 homes. So you can see from a supply point of view, we're really gridlocked. And a lot of that, I think, obviously, we know the challenges in the home builder space, but apartment builders, from like a financing point of view, that's a long process as well. It's normally a 3 or 4 year process from start to beginning. They sell off the plan. How do you know people are going to be able to afford it at the end? How do you know you're going to afford those trades during during the build, because we know trades all went silly a couple of years ago. So that's obviously left a massive hole as well. So kind of the whole industry really needs to put their head together to solve this issue.
And I suppose that's undermined by the fact that, we're 20,000 houses short for people to live here. Yeah. The mining industry is flying at the moment. You know, we can't get people to fill the pubs, the restaurants, because they can go and do TA and and you'll go on to it. Doesn't. I don't think it impacts WA. I think it's a completely different kettle of fish of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can go on about more of the rental stuff and that. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the scary thing. Between houses available right now to move in. So if you wanted to buy a house or a unit, or you wanted to rent something, there's 7,175 homes in the whole of Perth. 7,000. That is disaster level.
Yeah.
Like that is
2
absolutely
million population.
Yeah, and this kind of leads into the demand side of things. So that's your current supply, and we're struggling to bring more onto the market. And you've got last financial year, we had 35,000 people 35,000 population growth in WA. This year's forecast to be 40,000. Where are we going to house all these people? Seriously, it's crisis level.
Yeah.
It is absolutely crisis level. I don't understand. Yeah. And then the Chinese government came out the other day and said, you 40,000 students, you need to go back to universities. You can't do it online anymore. Which I know WA is only going to get a small portion. But still, exactly. But still, where are they going to go? So the whole supply-demand ratio is completely out of whack.
Crazy.
And when that occurs, generally a boom's going to follow, right? Mm-hmm. How can house price not increase if you got that much pent-up demand?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing we're seeing with not so much investors, because investors think it's still really cheap to build here, right? Because the ROI is like 5%, like across the board, something 6 or 7 if they get smart at what they do. But we're getting a lot of first home buyers coming in and going, I want to live here, and you're like, that price doesn't work anymore. You know, you're $500,000 for 40 minutes out the city, and that's being completely honest, and that's not going to change at all. You might get more for your money with stuff the builder will give you, but the price is not going to change. You know, we can see that for a while.
Ultimately, the median house price in Perth across all the other states, thanks to Dan's spreadsheet, which is unreal, is still the cheapest by a country mile. I mean, obviously Darwin's pretty close with us, but other than that, Perth kicks everyone else's ass in terms of the median house price being so cheap. So it's not going to stop. I think it's going to. I think there's going to be another mini boom, Dan. And
I agree.
by the way, let's upload this document, Tony, with the podcast so everyone can see it, because it's very, very helpful. Thanks for that, Dan.
That's all right.
We can't claim it, but these stats are amazing.
And these stats are all from like ABS, CoreLogic,
HIA.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing about it. Like, I suppose that we need to start educating people around. You know, they hear a suburb and they're like, I'm not moving there, but these suburbs are 20 minutes from the city. Like your Balga's getting subdivided and cut up, and it's going to be like an expensive suburb. It's right in the middle of Dianella and stuff like this. They just go Balga. Those Homes West homes aren't there anymore. They've all been moved, right? Things like Gosnells as well. How cheap is Gosnells? We see Gosnells as a massive growth, huge amount of growth in there. So
and you've just touched on something interesting there, in that you said expensive, and you know the local market's going, damn, property's expensive,
but it's not.
It is not. So you know, in the last 12 years, Perth's practically had no growth. So someone selling a property they bought 12 years ago has maybe made 20, 30 grand. So for them, it probably looks cheap. But you know, we've been so conditioned to cheap properties in Perth that it's hard to break that psyche. But you look at the figures here, and this stat I got from HIA, and it blew my mind. So mortgage compared to a family earnings percentage, Sydney 60%. So 60% of their wages going to their mortgage. Insane, right? Melbourne 50%, Brisbane 44%, Adelaide 47%, Perth 31%.
Yeah,
like
half of fucking Sydney.
If that doesn't tell you we've got room to grow, and you think interest rates are going to impact us or anything, it's just the stats don't tell you that's the case, right?
And that's the thing as well. Me and Chris spoke about. So he'd actually done a TikTok on it, House and Land Expert, Building Pill podcast, CC West. It's all there. He spoke about, we had that last rate rise there a couple of weeks ago. Technically, it was like Tuesday. But we're
right? 2 weeks ago from when you hear this.
But we know that it's probably peaked. We don't. It's not going to go any higher, and it's going to come down. So if you're mortgaging right now and you can afford it, it's going to get cheaper. Your mortgage rate is going to come down. Plus, you're going to pay more. So if you're able to afford it at this, what you're going to do then, you're going to end up with more equity in 4 or 5 years than you thought you're going to have. And then the prices will be lower, it'll be cheaper. But then you can start investing and stuff. It's be smart about it. These people that want to buy property and flip it straight away, you got to have capital. You got to be smart. You got to know what's happening in 5 years' time. Be able to sit on it without making much money. Buying and investing in property is something you got to sit on for years and just like set and forget sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So, we get this a lot. What happens if rates keep going up? I'm not going to be able to afford my mortgage. I don't understand, and we're going to get into this in a little second when we talk about the East Coast looking after East Coast, but the RBA is surely looking at Sydney and Melbourne, the two biggest population centres, and going, if we keep cranking these rates at their mortgage levels, there's going to be a world of pain to be had.
Yep.
We're not going to feel half of that because our mortgages are nowhere near that. And that sounds really cold-hearted for me to say. I know there's a lot of families who are going to be doing it tough. There's a lot of Perth families doing it tough. But just as general, looking at the stats, people in Perth have very little to concern themselves with if you have a mortgage compared to if you're on the East Coast. Because they fundamentally don't earn any more than us.
I can't believe the 60% statistic.
Yeah. And so,
mortgage to earnings.
And look at their household income.
I know.
So it's 1,800 and Perth is 1,800.
They make less than a pint.
Look at Adelaide. Adelaide's got more expensive houses, and their household income is 1,400.
Yeah.
So you just the maths.
Perth is the place to
the
be.
maths
Yeah.
don't add up.
We'll get this uploaded. That's a great.
It's a great spreadsheet. Yeah.
Wow.
It took me hours to do.
It didn't take me hours to do.
Carla done this.
No, this is my baby.
100%.
I'm the stats guy.
100%. It took you just Chris. You didn't just swan in here 5 minutes ago and just jump on the podcast.
This is the Dan show today.
Yeah.
Honestly, this spreadsheet's brilliant. So I mean, it's all there, black and white, and your sources are legitimate sources, So
how can the stats lie?
Correct. So look, basically, anyone that's listening for over East, I mean, we've been banging on about it for months now, but Perth, opposed to Brisbane and Melbourne, Sydney, even Adelaide, Perth is just the best value for money. It's as simple as that.
Got, outside of Darwin, we've got the strongest yield.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Not only do we have the cheapest property, we've got the second strongest yield. We've got plenty of capacity with our earnings.
And the vacancy rate is the all-time lowest in Australia. Literally all fields tick for Perth.
Yeah, vacancy rate's the lowest, and our unemployment rate is one of the lowest in the country.
And the thing is, though, you jump in now when interest rates are high. It's only going to get higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that's why you want to come and seek to me and Chris at the House and Land Expert, because we've got builders like Move Homes on our books, so we can spread the risk. We can build hundreds of homes because we've got plenty of builders to use it from. So if you're not reaching out to me, I don't know why not. Just reach out to me. I'm here. I'm ready to go. Dan, back on that, like why it's a good time to buy. You spoke about supply and demand and finance a little bit though. So keep giving us some knowledge because it's fantastic.
The last thing for me is the consumer confidence, and which is probably why that's the one thing to explain these stats, right? Because the stats are telling you Perth should be going absolutely bananas compared to everywhere else. But we have come through a tough period in Perth. Property prices have gone nowhere for 10 years. People are gun shy. And we've had a little bit of growth in the last 1 or 2 years. And I hate talking anecdotal, being a stats guy going anecdotal. But, you're at a barbecue with friends and someone goes, no, I'm not going to buy. Prices have gone up too much. It'll come back down. And you're like, are you kidding me?
It's never coming down.
Like, we've just had 10 years of it doing nothing and you've done nothing. You're not going to do anything. Like, there's always an excuse not to.
Correct.
And it's really hard when you see Koshi on the news going, property prices are crashing. The RBA is going nuts. And then I love this one. So I sent it to you boys when this came out. Couldn't believe it. Yeah. NAB came out with their forecast for the next year on property prices. Perth's going to drop 13.1% according to NAB. And just remember the stats that we talked about. So Adelaide has lower income, higher median house price, but somehow they're only going to drop 8.9%. And you're just like, I can't comprehend how these articles from the East Coast are coming out that make no logical sense with where the Perth market's at on the ground.
We are our own, we're almost like our own country over here.
Yeah.
Perth is just so different to
let's
Eastern
just
states.
succeed. Let's just chop us off,
It is. Honestly, that's what it's like. So, I think these national average stats are just
But look at the job and
They don't come to Perth
the job opportunities here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The opportunity to make money, to open businesses in Perth is huge, right? But we go on a whole podcast about what Chris gets on outside of the building industry, right? It's crazy. But the mining industry, Gina's come out and already said we're producing.
Yeah.
Everyone wants iron ore back. Everyone wants the gold. There's a new gold plant. The lithium
oil and
plants
gas
are kicking
as well,
off.
man.
Oil and gas
is big,
and they don't have enough people, so they're getting people just jumping in as trade assistants, making $100,000 a year,
minimum,
literally doing nothing. My brother's he's in drilling, and he's like some of the guys.
Don't say nothing, by the way. Don't say nothing. You just slandered. You just abused half of the TAs in Australia.
TAs jump on here, tell me, right? You know the guys, what their asses are, the ones that walk about with a bit of paper trying to look busy. You know them. We all know who they are. You've all got about 5 of them with your mates. But my brother's in the drilling industry, right? And he's got a lot of the guys coming in. There's guys coming in 4 days and just walking away because they think the money is really attractive, but the work they have to do is hard for it. So I'm not taking that away from the mining because they did bust their asses up there. Yeah. But there are people I know, fact, that do fuck all up there.
So we've got all these jobs and people are attracted to it, so they want to move to WA. But then they turn around and there's 50 people waiting outside a rental to inspect it. So, like, we've got to build our way out of this.
Yeah,
this
we
is
do.
the only way.
There's no other way.
Correct.
What about high rises then? Other states and cities across the world obviously build a lot of high rises and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely a market for it, but
I agree.
Perth just doesn't see. I think, is it because we've got so much land available? The size of our state is the biggest.
I think, from my point of view, there's a little bit of that, but because our median house price is so affordable, and a house is within reach of the majority of the
Rather than an
population,
apartment.
why would you make that? Normally you'd buy an apartment either for lifestyle, but that's only a small portion. Of the population who would do that, or because that's all you can afford and you just want to get out of renting.
Yeah.
But people in Perth don't seem to need to make that sacrifice.
We're so close to being able to get your own house, right? Yeah, with a garden.
And like you said, you can buy a $500,000 house, 20, 25, 30 minutes from the city, or it's a $400,000 apartment in the city. Like
1 bedroom.
Or it would probably be 2 bedrooms at that price. But you're like, the maths just doesn't make real sense here.
Yep, $100 a week is the difference essentially in terms of your repayments.
And we spoke about infrastructure the other week as well, about where it's all going, and we talk about your Byfords and I'm not living down there and down in Singleton and Golden Bay. If you drive down there, you should see the housing developments.
Unreal.
But they've got the infrastructure in it. People are like, it wasn't too long ago, maybe 10 years ago, I'm not moving to Joondalup. Look at Joondalup Hub.
Yeah. It's
People
unreal.
don't even need to go to the city now. They can go out. There's pubs and clubs and everything in Joondalup. The same with Coburn's. Coburn's going through that massive, the gate's going to go through all that renovation. They don't build suburbs and not put the amenities in there to support it.
I think that's a tale as old as time, though. Like, people always go, it's so far away. Like, my parents live in Sorrento. And when they bought in Sorrento, their friends were going, why do you want to... It's just dunes. Why are you living in the dunes at the end of Perth, right? Like...
It was like 1.8 million.
And then now they all moved in 20 years later and paid, 5 times the price. But, like, it's just... History's always gone, it's too far away. Yeah. But I think I've spent a lot of time when I was doing acquisitions back in the day for Joe in Melbourne. And it is different in the eastern states. So a lot of Perth... they'll have amenities there as soon as the land subdivision starts. Like, we've got a lot of good land developers in Perth who will build those amenities. Melbourne's very different. That might not happen for year 3, 4, 5. So we're kind of blessed here in that regard. Yeah, absolutely.
Stocklands are probably one of the biggest ones. They'll literally put it in before they build the
Satterley does the same. LWP.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. Pete. Turnovers like the Cube.
I suppose Stocklands just do those really fancy parks, though, don't they? With the big $8 million slides. Settle down.
They don't invite me to the Big Bash though, so they can get.
I know what's going on there. Shout out to all our Sally people and Lee. And Dale.
They're all amazing.
Yeah, good. No, they're great.
The other thing that kind of we haven't touched on yet, which I think is also important to keep in the back of our minds, is we've talked about all the reasons why Perth should go, but a lot of people are like, but what happens if we hit a recession, the dreaded R word that's getting bandied around at the moment. You got to realise, as a state government, we're in surplus, which is just like unheard of in Australia, right? you'd be nuts to think we're not going to spend our way out of a little dip. Like we've got the keg ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Every other state's spending now, and we're not.
Yeah.
We're not in danger time yet.
Yeah.
So, like, you look at all these factors, you look at the downside risk. The downside risk is so low in Perth, and the upside is so high. It's for me, if you're living with your mum and dad and don't need to pay crazy rents at the moment, you'd be nuts not to jump in right now.
Yeah.
You'd be nuts. You don't pay stamp duty. You get a first homeowner's grant. It's like a free hit.
I can't believe they still pay that, the government, $10,000 first homeowner's
But it's literally
grant.
a free hit.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's
even if you live in it for 12 months and then go, it's not for me, you can rent it out and it'll pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
You've got nothing to
it's-
lose.
And that's
Yeah.
like, I think Lee from Parcel came on and she's like, if you buy your first house, don't build your forever dream home because you won't.
Nobody
use it.
does.
No one does
Yeah,
it. But
absolutely.
but these kids are coming in and they see us and going, they want everything. You're going, just put it in and then put it in later. They'll sacrifice size for hardwood floors. You go, stop, put the size in and then just go on YouTube and learn how to do it or come and see something. You know what I mean?
You're 100% right. I mean, it's literally costing them nothing to build a house. Like, literally a few grand, like
Yeah,
2
yeah,
or
yeah.
3 grand with some companies.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, after 12 months, Dan, rent it back out or rent it per room. There's a fucking crisis of rentals. You could charge $200, $250 per room at this moment and be making money on your and
absolutely.
still live there.
And that's the thing, when
Yeah.
you talk about Sydney and that, right? There's tradies are like probably making around about the same sort of money as they're making in Perth here, and 60% of their wages is going to their mortgage, and we're one about paying 31%. Maybe you don't need that V8 6-litre bad boy and just drive a wee gets to get you work or something, because then you get a house. You know what I mean? Something's going to build you some equity.
No, that's
But
really good.
I think one of the things that I really want to go back and touch on, I think, before we just skipped over, was, and we've done it as well, but the negative press that came out against builders, because
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on it? Because we saw that the builders get smashed on this, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't the builders' fault, really, right? There were
Yeah.
some builders done the wrong thing, and let's
Yeah.
say we know who they are, we're not going to say. But
Yeah.
on your thoughts, Dan, what happened? How it impacted you, and what you've done to try and get around it?
Look, the thing, this is going to sound selfish, and I know people are hurting, interest rates are going up, rents are going up, they're struggling week to week. But the way some people talk to the staff in the office and the mental health struggle for some of the people in the office is huge, right?
Yep.
And if you've got staff who get abused day to day, of course you're not going to produce good quality work, right? We've all got to work together to get out of
Yeah.
this. And I know it's hard to hear that message, but it's not like, I don't think you could go to any builder in Perth. They're all trying to do the right thing. Like,
And no one's deliberately taking the
like,
time.
well, how would it benefit us as a business to either take our time, get bad reviews, not communicate well with clients? Like, we're all trying to do the best we can, because you don't have a company if you don't have happy clients at the end of the day. And look, I know it's difficult. Like, I sit there and clients come into the office all the time. I'll meet with them. Joe's met with plenty of clients. We're not shying away from the challenges. And we're trying to be upfront and honest as we can with them. But sometimes there's a little bit of bad news, and you just got to deliver it as compassionately as you humanly can. Yeah.
I mean, like we spoke about the numbers, right? So the numbers were we were struggling to build 12,000 houses.
Yep.
What did we actually? How many houses do you think in the industry was it? About 35,000 we were signing per year. What was it? There was huge numbers, huge numbers.
Yeah, so we've signed about 38,000 in the last 2 years. Oh, sorry, that's commenced. So we've commenced 38,000 homes in the last 2 years, and we've completed 24.
Right. So and that shows you the numbers we were doing, and there was companies out there. Chris will probably bag them. They were shouting from that we signed 1,000 deals this month. Like they were shouting from the roof, and we were all going, God's sake, this is not good. You know, like, close your doors. Like, there were some big companies that slowed it down, being honest. Some doors closed their doors, and we're not signing because we can't. Yeah. We've done the right thing by clients. Yeah. This other company didn't, and it snowballed down, and we all got hammered for it. And those poor girls and guys in the office got, like you said, the mental health stuff was hard. I remember sitting talking to you about stuff going, yeah, this is not a good day today. This is hard, because you're breaking you're breaking that client's heart, and we see the bigger picture of all of it, but trying to explain that one person because it's just their one dream home or something. It was some tough days, man.
But it's hard because, like, the girls in the office, even myself, I can't go out and lay your bricks. Like, I can't build your roof. Like, fundamentally, while we have control to an extent, we use subcontractors. And if they decide to have an extended Christmas break because they've earned a heap of money last year and they want to spend time with their families,
You can't force them.
well, I can't force them back to work because they're still in demand, right?
Yeah.
And if you do, they'll just go and work for someone else.
Correct.
That pays more money.
So as a builder, you're this conduit between trying to satisfy your clients, but your trade base is now a significant stakeholder, and you've got to look after them. So it's just trying to balance that out.
And there was times with some builders before the boom that weren't looking after the trades.
Oh, 100%,
and
man.
you both trade background.
Oh, it's horrible.
Getting treated like absolute
Backcharged.
crap and all that stuff. So it's going to come back around. Of course, these guys are going to, and they're going to go, well, no, we're not working more than 40 hours a week for that higher rate, and you'll just have to keep paying us. They try to look after themselves, and I fully understand it, especially the brickies and them, because it's a slog to do, especially this heat out here, right?
Yeah.
No, it's tough. But that's a really good point you made, Dan, about, the clients are unhappy and how they speak to your staff and stuff like that. That sort of gets overlooked just because they're in a bad mood or they're unhappy with the time things taken or the communication issues. These people are still people trying to do the right thing, and they're only the messenger. They're only passing it on. It doesn't kill to be polite and have manners. I think another thing that obviously those clients building are feeling the pinch, right? We know that they're paying their mortgage. Their interest-only repayments during the construction, that's coming out every week regardless on how quick the build's going. Plus the rentals are increasing. So we do sympathise for people in this position, but it's not like nothing can be done, really. Nothing can really be done. So we do sympathise and understand, but like you said, the builder's not making any money the longer it takes. If anything, you're draining resources on it. Yeah. So I think it's coming together, having good lines of communication, but also understanding the market. And that's one thing I'll say with Move Homes are really good. They do explain to the clients. They're not just left in the lurch. And it only takes a couple of people here and there to make negative reviews and people become internet warriors. They're a good building company doing the right thing. And I think you guys are on top of it now, which is amazing, but it's so easy to leave a negative review. It's so easy, and it's a bit sad, to be honest.
It's like that thing, right? You don't let a couple of negative reviews call your judgment. McDonald's gets a terrible review all the time because the food's crap. How do people stop going to McDonald's? No, they go there every day, right? So don't let that kind of thing. Do like we said, there was one of our podcasts. Do your research on the builder.
I think the challenge for me is if you've got a problem with what's happening, there are plenty of people in the office who will sit down with you, explain it, see what we can do to help. It's not like we don't care. And it's just hard when the first response is, I'm just going to fire away online. Give us an opportunity to help you out, talk you through it first.
Yeah.
And generally we'll find something,
Come to some agreement.
I've sat with clients and I've called real estate agents that I know and be like, hey, can you help these guys get a rental? They don't have anywhere to live. So we want to help people. But it's hard when they just go blast you online. You go, geez, I would have loved an opportunity first, and now everyone's backs up and it's not good.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
So what do you see the next 12 months looking like? What's the, build times, cost, prices, demand, all that stuff? What's the good news? Because it is kind of getting better.
Yeah, it's getting much better. So one of the girls in the office, Carla, had a great analogy the other day. COVID and the building boom and all the people whinging are in peak hour traffic at Applecross still waiting to get into the city, right? And you've got people planning to jump on the freeway at Baldivis and going, oh, no, because all these people in Applecross are complaining. Yeah, but they got on at peak hour. It's pretty clear that stretch of freeway now. You've got a good run. But I think it won't be long before the freeway starts backing up again, because these stats just tell you we're going to be building a lot of homes over the next, 5 to 6 years. And you have to get in the queue.
Yeah.
Build times are coming down, and we talk about we peaked at 25 and we, pre-COVID did just above 10,000 homes.
Yeah.
We're not going to continue to do 10,000 homes. It's going to get to the 14s and the 15s and the 16s, which is where we need to go. Mm-hmm. But there's no point waiting for the bus to leave. Get on the bus and get in the line.
Get in line.
For mine.
Do you think so the prices are stabilised?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
I think prices are stabilised. A lot of clients, go, build prices are going to come down. And, it might come down slightly. It's obviously where it was pre-COVID is something we're never going to see again in our lifetime. But all these stats tell you, even if you save a little bit there, you're going to be paying more on your land because the demand is just outrageous. So you're not really saving anything, right? And
it's still bloody cheap compared to the rest of the country, right?
Well, like you've said,
and
yeah,
it's
for sure.
beautiful here. You've been to Perth, it's amazing. Let's be honest, it's like, you can literally be in the beach in 50 minutes and the beaches are pristine. So that's good. What's your top two suburbs that you would say go if you're a first home buyer? First home buyer suburb to building, and if you're an investor suburb to building. There you go, put you right in the spot today.
I think as an investor, you can't go wrong along the coast. So you got, your Golden Bay kind of way down south, and then up north you've got your Alkimos area. I think amenity-wise, transport, everything, beach, employment opportunities, I think both are crackers. For a first home buyer, it's so dependent on what their specific needs are. But there's a few starting to pop up around like the Wanneroo area. Not quite to market, but I'd keep an eye out on that because I think that's going to go gangbusters in a little bit. Just on the doorstep of Joondalup, major hub. I think that's a great little spot.
But it's not. But they're not going to be cheap, those bits of land. You're going to. They're going to have a 2, maybe a 3 in front of them.
Yeah, probably a 3. I'd suggest.
Well, we just done the one in Darch there, right? We know they were all 3. One with parcel, and that last. I think it's almost gone. It lasted about 3 months.
Yeah.
So
that area's hot.
Sitting and waiting is not going to do you any help. It's not doing you any help.
No, because you wait for the next release in the 20 grand era.
And they're already gone.
What have you done?
Investors are all going bye.
I'll wait another year, spend 22 grand in rent, and then the price increased by 20 grand.
So it's all relative, right?
You just touched on something very interesting as well, is that all the challenges we've got as builders, land developers have exactly the same challenges at the moment, right?
Lee was saying that with civils and stuff like that, like they're priced out and they're in a queue, so they can't actually get the developments to be entitled.
It's hard to bring new stock to market, which is obviously going to cause supply issues with high demand.
Yeah.
And then the titles, and then that a couple of years ago, the titles were delayed. You try to hold the price as long as you can, but you're like 200% jump ups and steel timber.
Monthly.
It was all the builders' fault, by the way.
Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah.
What about you, Chris? What do you think's the hottest suburb to invest in? We're kind of
to invest. Gosnells.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. We've done a little bit of research, and we just go, this cannot just sit there in that prime bit of land, and it's plenty of, and they're all big blocks out there.
And the yield is huge out there as well.
I think, for Gosnells, 20 minutes, 15 or whatever it is, down Albany Highway, 400 to 450 house and land package, and it's that close to the CBD. I think Gosnells is a little hidden gem, to be honest.
Big shout out to Gosnells Soccer Club, who's sponsored by CC West.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's right.
Gosnells AFL Club, who's sponsored by the House and Land Expert.
There you go.
So if that doesn't tell you...
I didn't even mean that. I do think Gosnells is a good investment. But if that doesn't tell you what we think about the Gosnells in that area, Albert Haynes, all that Armadale, I'm telling you, I think it's worth, if you've got the money to sit on it and invest, it's the place to go. Major sponsors,
massively.
Oh. Yeah, I like Gosnells. What about you? You've asked the question. I'll ask you.
I'm you Gosnells. Yeah. I think that's massive.
I like it.
I like down south, kind of Golden Bays, but I'm really partial because I know what goes in that naval base, and I know the amount of rentals that they need down there for DHA and stuff. So yeah, I'm doing a bit of research, and I'll come back on the podcast. The southwest, I think there's gold mines down in the southwest, down that Bunbury, Bustle way. I think there's. Because it's getting closer, right? People are willing to drive, in Pinjarra. Look, we've spoken about infrastructure. I'm not going into it again. Go and read the.
I think just to touch on the reason for my Gosnells thing. A lot of these sites are massive blocks. They get subdivided. You put battle axe blocks in there. But that for me, that's a positive because then you're eliminating half the builders in Perth that don't touch battle axe blocks. You've got companies like Lavida Homes that won't want to touch a battle axe block just because they're not experienced in it, let's say, or something like Smart Homes for Living. These guys aren't set up for infill blocks, let's call it, or battle axe blocks. So you can get really price driven when it comes to finding the correct builder, and you can get really badly price driven if you go to the wrong builders and get quotes because they're not experienced in it, or they don't do it often, and you can have real big price blowout. So I think if you go with a smaller, more nimble builder, or a builder who specializes in battle axe blocks, for instance, you can actually save 60 grand. Yep. You know what I mean? So part of that Gosnells is my pick is also you've got to find a builder that's also competent in doing developments and stuff like that.
Gosnells has got great amenities as well. It's linked with the train line, buses. It's got everything out that you need, right?
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you saw that, if you guys were on the TikTok or saw it, I went to a thing on Saturday there about
this is
conventional zoning. So I'm just starting to get my head around it. But you can have like a 350 block at the back of your house, right? And you can only, and it has to be that for the R codes. Well, I think R20 or something it is, right? But you can put like maybe 2, 3 2x1s on there as long as they're 70 metres squared.
So multiple granny flats.
It's phenomenal what I saw.
I'm learning about it.
I was like, we were like, I'm going to get right into this because I think there's, especially for that Fremantle area, right, and down south and that, like it was really interesting what they can do. They had three different living areas on top of the 4x2 at the front of the house, 2x1s. And I tell you, if you're just like on your own and you just want someone close to Freo and pay
FIFO worker,
yeah, something like that, it's beautiful because it had everything. It's like a little house, and I suppose for me, being for the UK, I'm used to like wee tiny houses, right? It's not wee small houses, it's wee tiny houses.
Wee
right?
tiny
That's how we
houses.
talk about it. I know people like, it doesn't have a laundry, it's got the European laundry, which we had a wash machine in our kitchen and a turbo dryer. That's what we had, you know. You'd be like, what? I was like, yeah, but that's how we lived in little small blocks, right? So
I just think with the vacancy rates, people are less picky and choosy, so you're going to rent them out. And the good thing about them, if you come with a nimble builder, they will only take 3 months to build.
Yep.
Like all of them. So
100%.
Can I just jump back for a second to Gosnells?
absolutely.
When you look in those areas as well, anything with any soil conditions, you obviously want a lightweight construction technique because
correct.
it's going to keep your costs down. So
100%,
timber
mate.
or steel would be the way to go on both of
100%.
those.
Look, as you know, that's that's
my
your
area of
passion's timber.
expertise,
Yeah, for sure, because it eliminates a lot of these. Anywhere in Perth, there's nowhere that goes, oh, that's definitely for double brick. It's the opposite, right?
absolutely.
Lighter the better. So yeah, it saves you a lot of cost on your concrete, earthworks, and stuff like that. We do actually, with our granny flats, we do the Surefoot system, it's called, which is basically building on stumps again. The cost savings is fucking huge, like massive. We've got 2 jobs in Medina with trees and all this sort of stuff that's a real bad slope. And I think the quote I got was like $42,000 for the earthworks to prepare plus concrete.
Yep.
And as a just transferring it to Surefoot was $6,000. So it's like 40 grand savings. And this is a granny flat. Like, that's how bad the block was and everything else.
If you want to look at that stilt frame construction, just Google it and you'll see what it kind of looks like. And it looks great. It's everywhere over Queensland. Is that
well, you can't notice it. You finish your cladding down to soil level, it looks no different to a normal house. So, but yeah, that is a good topic, Dan. And that's something, again, you can't just pick, if you're a first home buyer listening to this, or you want to, you can't just go on a website. You know, people get so driven with the house designs and what they look like. You can't just go, right, this one's advertised for 270. It's going to be 270 on that block that's 200. It's a 470 package. It's completely the opposite.
and you see all the photos on the website, and it's the display home, right?
Yeah,
Not the actual home
absolutely
you get.
right.
And that's another thing that I wanted. And I know it's not finished at the display home, but Move are actually building a display home that's actual builder spec of what you get.
PR Waters?
Yeah.
Is
And
it?
I think that's just a game changer in the world. This is what I actually get.
100%.
So we've got a few show homes, right?
Yeah.
And they hardly get used, and all the guys are taking potential purchases out to homes under construction because this is legitimately what you get.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just have one always readily available?
We're the same. I mean, we've definitely spoke this. I think that's an absolute game changer for you guys. Are way ahead of the going. People don't want. They go on and think they're going to get this $400,000 display home and then you get something completely different, right?
What it shows is transparency. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are actually showing being honest and legitimate.
Well, we're proud of our spec, right? So
100%.
if you're proud of something, why wouldn't you show it off?
Showcase it. I love like Home Group WA, you know, $80,000 of shut up, it's not, you know, it's just embarrassing. And like the
But
display,
every house
they're
has
all
like
the
a
same.
$50,000 kitchen in it,
That's
right? Like
yeah.
that's where you start
But
to
they
do
just,
everything. So-
Exactly. But you know, you go on the display villages and you see these amazing elevations and stuff. It's not included. You know what I mean? You got to pay an extra $8,000 for it, and it's just constantly stitching the client up.
And
So
again, back on that transparency for you guys as well. You send out your pre-start bricks before they've even something signed, so they get an idea of what colours and specs that they get. Because you're like, no, well, that's what you're going to get. I think it's just a really great way to do it. How you do it.
If you look at Move Homes on Instagram or any of our socials, it's literally clients' houses.
Yeah.
Like there's no display home stuff
No,
on there. It's
that's
literally like we're proud of the stuff we're building for people, and we're going to show you what we're
so
building.
you should be. So you
Yeah,
should
it's
be.
good. It's a great brand, and it's good. You know, it's a big credit to yourself. You know, being there 13 years, and then what Joe and his dad and that have tried to build and keep. like I said, we've spoke at the front. I was really impressed at what Joe done and stepped up during the tough times. You know, it was really.
And Dan, both of them, yeah.
Didn't have to,
late night appointments and stuff like that. Yeah, so we through the House and Land Expert, we put a lot of deals for you guys. Obviously, when the client specifically has a budget and target in mind or whatever, but you guys are definitely one of our favourite builders, and I think we're bloody close to 100 deals over the last 3-4 years that we've done with you collectively. You know, so yeah, credit to Move Homes and the Prime Group.
And that's part of like why me and Chris have got why you've got the House and Land Expert and why we work there is because when the client comes into this, we can move you to different clients, builders that suit you.
Yeah.
We this is why we talk about get the finance first, know where we can borrow, and then we'll do the land. We can design any house for any plot of land. Move are specifically
Really
great
good.
at doing that stuff. They're happy to work with the client to get it right and stuff like that. You know, just because you see a spec sheet and a cost, we can take specs out, we can spec up, we can go in between. When they tell you can't do it, just go, thank you very much for your time. Make sure you take their pen because you need something for your time and just walk out because, just stop going to display houses. Just stop doing it. Please.
Except the new one in Piara Waters for me.
But then you come and see us and we'll take you through it. There's a difference, right?
Correct.
So, now, I think, is there anything else you can
No.
Well, I'm just going to ask, when will that be finished? The display one? End of the year?
So,
I think other builders.
Cut that out.
no. This is actually good stuff. We actually did that contract and everything ready to build during the grants. And I don't think we've even put brickwork on it yet. To give you an idea that we're prioritising clients' work before our own.
That is good.
At some stage, we've got to get going with it.
Yeah.
But practically, I think that house is probably 30 or 40 weeks behind any other client on site.
Okay.
So
So you're prioritising the
Absolutely,
clients
yeah,
first.
you
That's
have
good.
to.
That was
You
a
have
loaded
to.
question
Yeah,
he asked me.
I want to thank you, Dan, for your time. And this is unreal. The information you've came out just to disprove what people are saying. Stats always tell the truth, right? And so thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
no problems. Thanks for having me.
And Chris, what's going on with your hair? Is it still
Sensational. I'm just trying to level up every week. Every single week.
I feel you haven't went anywhere this week.
I've leveled up, mate.
Last week.
I've leveled up.
I'm just waiting for you to join a boy band now.
So I know how Chris has leveled up. He goes on the water and goes zin, zin, zin.
Oh, no, yeah.
Did you buy a jet ski?
Jet ski Tuesdays.
Jet ski Tuesday. So
Why not?
I was working away nice and hard one day, and then I got a picture message from Chris going, "Look what I just bought," and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Second hand, mate. God's sake.
You could have used it as a deposit on a new house. What are you doing?
On a builder. 30% deposit. I'm stuffed. If I was an employee, I would be building every single year.
Yeah.
I got to save up a bit more.
So as always, like, share, comment on the page, post on YouTube, Facebook, the lot. Prize this week is if you get the best comment about Chris's hair, he'll give you a shot on his jet ski on sports mode. All right, guys, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, guys.